understand what is going on between Dangote, NNPC, and oil marketers. Of course, all the drama that's been going on. I watched a very interesting interview this morning on a breakfast show. And honestly, I'm just like, I have a lot of questions, more questions than even comments on this matter. But first, let's run off on a break. When we come back from that break, we want to see what we found in today's news. All right, National Authors Day is celebrated annually on November 1st. It's a day dedicated to honoring and appreciating authors who bring stories, knowledge, and imaginations to life through their written works. And this day encourages book lovers, aspiring writers, avid readers to celebrate the power of words and the impact authors have had on their lives. Now, authors like George Orwell, Lewis Carroll, Charles Dickens, rather, Wole Soyinka, Chimamanda Adichie, the list is long, right? Other renowned authors are celebrated on this day. In the same vein, today is also National Family Literacy Day. It's celebrated annually, same November 1st. It was established in 1994 through a joint resolution by Congress. This day aims to highlight the essential role families play in fostering literacy and learning amongst children. So, Norma, what book did you read that changed your life?
Okay, I think top of my mind would be books like Originals by Adam Grant. That was a very different kind of book. I mean, I've been reading books. I love reading books from when I was young. I could sleep with a book in my hand, and it was always a problem for my dad. But I also read books that continue to inspire creativity and your imagination, helping you to just be everything that you want to be able to see, dream big. So Adam Grant, his book called Originals, it's one of those books that continue to help you to think outside the box, and that was quite inspiring. Another one will be by Tim LaHaye, the one that has to do with the different personality types. So that was quite insightful for me because I learned about my personality, and then I learned about how to use my personality to achieve a lot, as well as understand people and their way of thinking. So those are the two books that I can.
So let me toe your line and also
inspiring.
I said, let me toe your line and give two books for me that changed a lot of things for me. One would be Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, right? That book is literally a very tiny book. You can read it under 30 minutes, but the book would literally change your life. I mean, if you really want to be intentional about living and you want to start, by something, because some people I don't like reading too many heavy things. And that's why that book just resonated with me. How the mouse will just keep on, whilst one is, comfortable in a particular spot, the other one was what's it called, monitoring the cheese and seeing that cheese is finished. I cannot sit on that. So it just tells us basically, don't sit on your achievements, right? Don't sit on your wins. Look out for bigger things, right? Instead of just staying comfortable, because soon all of those euphoria, everything will just die down and you would be left with nothing. That's literally the summary of that book. Another book would be Stephen R. Covey's book, of course, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He then went on to do the 8th habit and all of that. That just helps you put a structure. In that same light, I bought the same books for my children, but it's now 7 Habits of Happy Kids, right? It changed everything. So they know how to think first things first. They know how to begin with the end in mind. All the 7 habits, how to think win-win when you are in a position where, you have to negotiate or whatever. Like, literally, those are life-transforming books that I think, changed my life. So to all the authors, thank you so much. You people do a lot, in changing the lives and the trajectory of people's journeys, right? Just by those words that you pen on pages. So thank you to all our authors. And yes, literacy is a big deal. So yeah. All right, Nama, what did you find for us in the news today?
Okay, so as we know, America is getting ready for their big election, and that is going to take place on the 5th of November, which is on Tuesday. But my what's the news has to do with the big names that have thrown themselves behind the candidates. We have billionaires and celebrities who have endorsed Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And we have names like Elon Musk, we have names, top people in the industry who have decided to endorse the candidates. So far, Donald Trump is leading when it comes to the fundraising race. He's raised about $281 million, while Kamala Harris has raised about 66.2 million. And we have big people like Elon Musk, who has given as much as over $100 million towards Donald Trump's campaign. It just tells you how it's interesting, the people who are endorsing these candidates, and for whatever the reasons that they have. I mean, the names are endless. We don't have time to take them, but it was just interesting to see people like Beyonce, people like LeBron James, who have thrown their support towards Kamala, and the top dogs like Elon Musk, who is also sponsoring Donald Trump. It was quite interesting for me personally, because it's just a few days down the line, and at the end of the day, we'll know who the next president of the United States will be.
Yeah, 5th of November. A day after my birthday. They'll be all right. All right, so Festus Keyamo, the Minister of Aviation and Airspace Development, has said that the House of Reps, as a body, did not call on him to revoke the license of any private airstrip. So there has been, I saw some kind of rumor going around about how the airstrip for Winners Chapel, that's the Living Faith Church for Bishop David Oyekanmi, because he had made that announcement, I think, last week, that airstrip was revoked. But he says, no, there was no such thing like that. He says, I think what happened is that someone moved a motion in that regard, and it was unanimously referred to the Aviation Committee to look into it. And whilst the intention of the member who moved it is very patriotic, it was based on a complete lack of knowledge in how the aviation sector works. He says, by the time we explain to them how private airstrip work and the processes they undergo by our agencies before they get the final approval, they will be satisfied. Now, the responsibility of these owners of the private airstrips is just to build the runway and terminal building. So I think, people should just calm down. I know abroad, some private guys have their own private airstrips. These things are not a big deal if you are able to, without clearance, you understand, from the terminals. What do they call them? The air, what's the word they call them? The air terminals. Why am I looking for that word? So I don't know how people just is it the fact that because it is Oyedepo that announced it that he's getting a private airstrip that is a big deal, or I don't know whether or about Bele, but hey, the minister has come out to say no such thing happened. So let's just rest the matter. All right, so on that note, let's take a break. When we come back from that break, I want us to go into the conversation around NNPC, marketers, and Dangote. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges.
With the growing youth population and very little engagement.
That is a ticking time bomb.
We're blessed people with a diverse culture who have a lot to say.
And yes, we are talking.
It is important we drive conversations that informs, inspires, and influences thoughts and actions.
If we say there is beauty in diversity, then Let us embrace our diverse culture.
We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation.
As we are the hope for the future.
Yesterday's conversation shaped today.
What are you saying to shape your tomorrow?
We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, tonight on the show, we will be looking at the oil crisis in Nigeria. For the past month, Nigeria has been roiled by a bitter row between Dangote refinery and oil sector regulatory authorities over the company's operational demands and standards. This altercation is needless in a polity where institutions dispassionately discharge their duties. The then arising therefore is already creating shocking and bad waves for Nigerians globally. Nigerian oil crisis has sparked blame amongst key players: Aliko Dangote, NNPC, oil marketers. Dangote attributes fuel shortages to retailers' their reluctance to buy from his refinery, which has over 500 million liters, according to him. Recall that Dangote had said that the refinery is producing fuel, but marketers were not buying from him in his response. And marketers sent a letter to Dangote stating that enough capacities needed were not produced and that NNPCL hadn't given the go-ahead. Now, the NNPC faces criticism for not supplying enough crude oil to local refineries, while marketers are urged to stop imports to stabilize the market. The blame game highlights systemic issues within Nigerian oil sector, complicating efforts to resolve ongoing fuel shortages. Now, joining us to have the conversation is the National Publicity Secretary of the Independent Marketers Association of Nigeria, that's IMAN. He's in the person of Ukadike Chinedu, and Samuel Oyekanmi is also a research and insight lead, who joined us sometime last week. He's also joining us to have this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. So I don't know who I'm starting with. Samuel, I'll come to you first, right? Because I think you are kind of like independent in this conversation. From an independent standpoint, right? What's your overview on what is going on between Dangote, NNPC, and of course the oil marketers?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting dynamics, right? A lot of blame trading amongst the parties, IOCs, oil marketers, NNPC, NMDPRA, and then Dangote Refinery. And in my opinion, I think the whole conversation started from earlier in the year where Dangote Refineries, or Dangote himself, announced that NNPC does not own about 20% stake, as earlier announced. It was around 7%. And I think the whole conversation started around then, because that was when a representative of NMDPRA accused Dangote Refinery of producing inferior fuels, be it diesel or petrol. And I think it's just a whole lot of conversation. And the truth is that, well, they say that when elephants are fighting, it's the grass that will suffer. Unfortunately, the back and forth between each of the stakeholders is affecting Nigerians, because Nigerians are either spending quality time at fueling stations or having to pay premium, either by buying from the black market or even from other low oil marketers across the country. A number of people are already buying around 1,000 to 1,003, and it does not seem like it is ending anytime soon. I would say this is like the longest fuel queue I've seen in the longest time that, in Nigeria, and it does not seem like it's going to abate anytime soon. So it's really quite a serious issue, very much.
Okay. Let me come to the IPMAN representative. Thank you so much for joining us again, Mr. Chinedu.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so I was watching the breakfast show this morning on, I think it was on Arise, where one of the IPMAN representative had come. And, the argument is that oil marketers are complaining that it is cheaper for them to import fuel than for them to buy from Dangote refinery. But by the time the conversation was going on, I mean, from the conversation, he mentioned that 995 naira was what Dangote was selling to the what's it called, to the, I mean, to NNPC. But when asked the question around how much, if you say that it is cheaper to import, how much is this cheaper? I mean, he was quite, evasive. He didn't come out with, a clear answer to say this is exactly the landing cost of fuel. We've had these transactions back and forth. It is always very shrouded. First of all, why is it very difficult for us to get the actual landing cost of petrol in Nigeria? That's number one. And number two, what is the real reason IMAN is not going to Dangote to provide? Because he mentioned something around Dangote is supposed to come to IMAN, and then IMAN will now ask his members to then start to lift from Dangote, that there's just some political dynamics. And I feel like in my head, maybe Dangote is trying to just, bypass IMAN. But hey, this is me from an outsider talking, but you are inside IMAN. Let us know what is going on.
Okay, well, it's very, very simple. We have experiencing what we call the subsidy regime, and the Nigerians have enjoyed that largesse that was introduced by the federal government to be able to ensure that there is no galloping inflation in the country, and there is no galloping inflation in the country, and the things are being subsidized. Also, that period of time, we have the PEF, the Petroleum Equalization Fund, which also try to, rationalize petroleum products across the nation, making it to have a uniform price. Government was bearing the cost of transportation as at that particular point in time. These are some of the things that are off. And if there was also a template regime, a price regime, whereby government modulates prices of petroleum products in line with what they can be able to subsidize. Now, federal government came in with a lot of other policies. When the president was inaugurated, he declared that subsidy is gone, that the real price of petroleum products will be export price in line with FX. And I think that is what the that is what the federal government has been suffering. That is what the federal government has been trying to see how they can be able to manage it. So IMAN, as at that period of time, was dependent on NNPCL for its product and other sources. NNPCL became the only sole importer of petroleum products. So nobody bothered to know how petroleum product is being imported, the challenges within the NNPC, the rebate, the discounted dollar, the crude swap, and all the rest of them. These are rigorous ways of bringing the petroleum products into the country. Now, on the side of independent marketers, we were all bonded. The minute the deregulation was announced, we were all bonded into NNPCL portal. And NNPCL, has become a limited liability company in line with the PIAP. So it is very, very difficult for an independent marketer, under the auspices of independent marketer, to be able to determine the cost of importation of petroleum product, because we never imported petroleum product within that regime period. What we are based on imported products by NNPCL and quota allocation in the NNPCL quota. And out of those, we collect from DAPMA members and sometimes MOMA members. Because we have huge capacity of distribution and we are versatile, we are almost scattered around the nation. So we quest for products. Sometimes we don't even wait for our allocations to come. So the National Assistant Secretary will not be able to give you the price of petroleum products as at then. Even now, when the deregulation was announced, dollar was pegged. Dollar rate at that particular time was around 4 something, and PMS was around 500 something naira. Before we could be able to say, okay, let us settle up and see whether we can be able to put. Dollar was around 750, and PMS was also climbing And Emmanuel Carrier, the group GMD of NNPC, clearly stated it clearly that the rate of dollar affects the domestic price of petroleum products because they are all being imported. And the government made it clear that those who want to import should go to the parallel market and source for their FX. And there was so much naira scrabbling for a few dollars. Most of the members like Emadeb and Erano, who tried, who tried briefly to see whether they can be able to import, jammed a lot of Waterloo. They couldn't be able to repatriate the funds because by the time they came back, prices of everything was very difficult. They couldn't even be able to repatriate their fund and be able to get another fund to get another dollar to go back to the market. So it was jammed with a lot of financial challenges. So most of them dropped it off until Dangote and NNPC continued to import to sustain the country. You know, once there is scarcity, everything automatically skyrockets. There will be a galloping inflation and the economy will suffer. So the issue of IMAN importing, IMAN have just gathered themselves together. We are working assiduously with an economic team saddled by Mr. President to also ensure that first we patronize our indigenous refinery, that's the Dangote refinery. We welcome the Dangote refinery. We were not against the Dangote refinery. We even see it as a way of liberalization so that our competitors will not be giving us products. You know, we want a situation where we can be able to compete in a level playing ground. We don't want a situation where NNPC will be able to be giving us products. They are selling this product to us as 998 naira, sometimes 1,040 naira. And in their own filling station, they're selling 998. So is it not better to go and buy in the filling stations than we're suffering ourselves, going to buy 1,040 naira, and in turn coming to our filling station to sell 1,002? That is why you see this mosquito coil queues in NNPC stations, because people definitely want to patronize the NNPC because their products are cheaper. And you see the independent marketers, there will be no queue at all. Our generators will be running from morning to night. Sometimes we sell 100 liters, sometimes with 500 liters, with diesel of up to like 100 to 70,000 naira per day. So it was not really business for us at all. So that was why we are hearing that we should be able to take from the source. Since Dangote have started producing, that Dangote should give us this product so that we can be able to distribute. We have the capacity, we have the tank farm, we have the finance, we have the staffs well trained that can be able to offtake even 1,000 million liters of Dangote products. You know, Magana will offtake it. That was why the National Assistant Secretary was misconstrued by some of you. He said that was supposed to come to us because we're supposed to be the beautiful pride. We are the people that have the highest number of filling stations scattered over the country. We also have our trucks. We also have our fund. We are not begging for fund. We are not saying for that they should give us this product on credit. We will pay cash. So that is what he means by that. It is not antagonistic at all. It is very, very clear that independent marketers, we are ready for this business. We have recently acquired a tank farm. As I'm talking to you now, we have 3 tank farms ready. If actually we will bifurcate this product through vessels to some of the depots that we have acquired, to be able to enable our
But what do we even need that though? Okay, so let me let Norma come in, because why do we even need to have a tank farm? Since Dangote is there, it's not just to carry your truck and go and load and take it to, so that it cuts off those extra costs. Because by the time you are doing, you take it to tank farm, take it to all of those things, there are transportation costs that will be layered on that thing. But let me let Norma come in, and Norma, I think you should direct your question to Samuel.
Samuel, I mean, it's a little bit very confusing, honestly, because from what Chief Ukadike was saying, it seems like there is a there's a misalignment between IMAN, between NNPC, between NMDPRA and Dangote refineries. Is there no way that there can be some form of synergy? Because I want to believe that all of these different bodies, the goal is to make life easier for the Nigerian citizens. So is there a way that there could be some form of synergy between all of these bodies to be able to achieve that goal? And in line with that, I know that there was this alleged, the CEO of NMDPRA, Farouk Ahmed, had mentioned that Dangote refinery, that they produce inferior quality of products compared to the ones that they have imported, their imported options. So what are your thoughts towards this? Because I mean, a test was done and it was discovered that Dangote diesel has lower sulfur components in it or content. So what are your thoughts towards all of this?
So, like I said earlier, right? I'll start with the second question. There was a lot of noise around then, and I think Dangote was also proactive during that period to be able to convince the populace that, in essence, its products are not inferior quality compared to imported options. So I think that at this point, no one is even debating if Dangote's product is either inferior or superior, because that conversation is just gone. Now, in terms of what can the government do? I think maybe now the president, based on the last conversation they've had, where he has given some directives to some of the stakeholders down midstream and downstream oil industry to start patronizing Dangote refinery. I think maybe that's a good step in the direction. But I think in the first place, there was supposed to be a sit down between all stakeholders. And there could have been, we really don't know from the outside perspective, there could have been, and they probably did not agree based on that conversation. But I think there needs to be a conversation, and it could have been fronted by the NNPC, because as far as we're concerned, they are the regulatory body in charge of downstream and midstream activities. So whatever retailers are buying, off-takers, either from IMAN or other agencies within that sector, I think they should have fronted that because Dangote refinery is coming in at a point in time where we've been dealing with consecutive contractions in the Nigerian oil refining sector. In fact, if you look at numbers, that sector or that subsector declines on a quarterly basis by an average of 30 to 35%. So it means that there's pretty much no activity, even with the 4 or 3 refineries that we have already in Nigeria. So this is coming, and it promises to be a game changer for the Nigerian economy as a whole, and then the oil and gas sector. Now, I think there could have been a sit down between all buying retailing agencies, government agencies in the form of NNPCL, and then the NMDPRA, even the Minister of Petroleum, who is again the President, and the Minister of State for Petroleum, having a conversation around this in order for there to be some form of alignment. Because what it is now we are hearing is this says, that says. Dangote says they're not buying from me. IMAN is saying we have ordered, we are not getting anything from you. NNPC is also saying something different. So there needs to be a sit down. And I think that could have just solved a lot of the problems that we're having. And it could have been done heads on, not now that the queues have lingered for almost 5 to 6 months.
Okay. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, of course, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If you just tuned in, we're still having a conversation on who's to blame for Nigeria's oil crisis, right? Is it NNPC, Dangote, or the marketers? And we still have with us Ukadike, Chinedu, and we also have with us Samuel. Okay, so let me come to you, Ukadike, Chinedu. This conversation, right? How do we move forward? If Dangote is refusing, because I mean, from that interview again, I'll go back to that interview, and it was said that a letter was written to Dangote and all of that, and he refused, to come to IMAN. If Dangote is refusing to go to IMAN, or, how do we find a middle ground? Where do we, because again, I think who said it about elephants fighting and the grass suffering? It is the Nigerian people that are suffering in this instance, right? So what is the way forward to move this conversation and, and have this issues around, just going directly to Dangote to pick up the fuel? What needs to be done?
There was a question you asked before the break.
Okay.
I just want to just clear that question about why are we not taking vessel, why are we acquiring tank farms, why we can truck the product. I also want to let you know that Nigeria is very vast, and to take product from Apapa to something like Meduguri might take 5 to 6 days or 4 days because of our good road network. And the cost effect of that product, by the time you add it to the value of the product, it will be getting to at least close to 1,600, 1,700. And it will be very, very difficult for people around that area to cope, since there is no petroleum equalization fund. Wherever you are loading from, you will bear the cost of transportation, cost of logistics, cost of maintenance, and cost of funds. That is the beauty of the liberalizations, so to speak. Now, Dangote can backfill close to 20 million liters or 20 metric tons or up to 30 metric tons, depending on the size of the vessel. And if this kind of product is being backfilled, it will not be taken to either Port Harcourt or Gara or this. And trucks within that TDZ can be able to pick it without so much distance. And that will be able to reduce the price of petroleum product, because from Lagos to Kaduna might cost you close to 4 to 5 million naira, transportation. While from Lagos to Port Harcourt will also cost you the same amount. While if you take that vessel will move volumes of petroleum products to Port Harcourt, and people around that area will be able to take this in. Just adding a minivan, the weight of the freight will be lowered, and the petroleum product will be available as quickly as possible. If Ibejuleke will continue to load close to 700 trucks per day, or up to now 1,000 trucks per day to satisfy the rest of the Nigerians, I want to bet you that in the next 6 months, the whole roads in Nigeria will be unmotorable. And you will see the tank explosion, trucks falling on the road. It will even cut off commuters from traveling from one particular place to another, knowing our terrain. So that is also why it is advisable that we can take from Dangote via vessel, very large vessel, and go to some of these places like Warri, Port Harcourt, and Aba. Even I also want to let you know that when you take this kind of large vessel to Port Harcourt, it can be able to pump petroleum products from Port Harcourt to Enugu to Makode. Now there is a substation in between Makode and Yola. You can also get to Yola. That is where Nigeria is being designed. The system 2B that is around Mosimi or around the rest of them, we can also pump. That of Warri can also take to Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, all those places. You see, that is the way the system, the government has made. But now we have lost all those pipelines. We did not prepare for this deregulation. If you want to talk about this regulation, you have to prepare for this deregulation. These pipelines must be put in place. The issue of railway must also be put in place so that you can be able to carry crude oil from one
place to another.
Place, refine petroleum products. Yes, to another. From also refined products from Port Harcourt to Kaduna. These are the things that should be put in place so that the competition will be healthy.
I hear you. So please,
that is why we also
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Okay, so I was just going to invite our callers. Please, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Our phone lines are also now open. The numbers to call are 07025007749 or 07014242420. Okay, let me let Norma come in, but please remember to have the question of moving forward, how we can move forward at the back of your mind. Norma, please come in.
No, I think Chief Ukadike wanted to finish up what he was trying to say.
Oh, okay.
if I'm correct.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, you also asked me a question about the panacea to this, what we are passing through now. You understand me? And I also believe that the government is supposed to be at the teeth of this. If government can be able to ensure that our 4 refineries are working, since we have been in a turnaround maintenance, billions and trillions of naira has been sucked into this maintenance of this refinery. Up to now, we cannot be able to come up with a 250 barrel per day optimal refinery. And for the past more than 3 decades of administration, have been trying to revamp this refinery. I believe that Mr. President, who is a core businessman, can be able to issue a state of emergency on these refineries. And once they come up, the issue of monopoly is gone. The issue of people going to beg Dangote to come and to buy petroleum product is gone. Then the other modular refineries are there. You also encourage them to amplify those modular refineries so that they can crack PMS, even if in a small quantity. Since they are cracking HO, NEFTA, and TPK, they can also improve. Government can also either give them grant to improve them to be able to crack PMS. Once there are other sources of petroleum product, I also want to tell you that Dangote too will shift ground. It will start shifting ground if the issue of pricing is the problem. And we are having sources of petrol. We can't just have one particular giant in terms of this. No. It's not done anywhere in the world. You understand me? Even the issue of importation should also be encouraged. If no right human being will think about importation when the price is cheaper here in Nigeria. It's not possible. Do you want to, who are you going, what are you doing? You want to lose money in your business or what? So those who are talking about importation will have able to sit down and check it and see how they can be able to bring in product. It might be cheaper than that of Dangote. But Dangote has done something meaningful when he came in by crashing the price of HU that was around 1,800. He brought it down to 1,002, even to 950 naira. People started crying. Those that are importing started crying. So let me allow people to comment so that I'll know the angle. So it is important that government should step in, and ensure that they erase monopoly.
Okay.
Chinedu, this is interesting because if you say that when Dangote came in, he was able to crash diesel price to 950 to the point where marketers were crying. Don't you think that there's going to be the same effect, if he's allowed to to continue with this petrol, refinement and all of that? I don't know.
No. What I'm saying is that let him keep on supplying us PMS. We cannot depend on importing of petroleum product. Our naira will suffer because we use dollar to bring it in. But now that they are giving him crude oil in naira and we're not paying in naira, at least that has hit off the issue of
Forex.
our naira suffering against dollar.
Okay.
Now, when we are not talking about the monopoly or whatever, as a government should ensure that Port Harcourt and Kaduna refinery, even Warri, they said Warri is ready. Port Harcourt is almost 100% ready. What are they waiting for?
Okay, let me take Loma. Then, Loma, please be on standby for your question. Loma, you're live. Good evening.
Good evening, and every other person. And the man that is giving us sermon. Good evening. I want to let us know one thing. You cannot exonerate Dangote from the blame. Dangote promised us heaven and earth. Dangote promised us that we are going to enjoy when this refinery come to life. But at the end of the day, Dangote build the word of promise to our ear and break it to our home. Now come to NNPC. I am one of the persons that is clamoring for Yari to be removed. All of them, downstream and upstream, they are not doing anything. They are deceiving us. Even the oil marketers, all of them are culprits. And look at the massive suffering in this country. And they think that our God, we are praying every day. Let them continue making the money. Let them continue getting everything they want. At the end of the day, they will put it in a pocket that is empty. The pocket that is right. Because they fail to use it to common man. We have crude oil in this country. We have refineries, and none of them are working again. Our crude oil is not, we are not benefiting from it. Our refinery is now lying moribund, and they want us to be happy. As many of them suffering Nigerians, they can never go free from it. Our God is going to fight for us, and they will be at the receiving end of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Loma. Norma, let me come to you.
We share your sentiments, Loma. My question will go to Samuel. I mean, with all of these situation, right? I'm just wondering what the way forward is, because the blame game has gone on for too long and it really hasn't helped to clarify issues. And I continue to stress that there is there's a communication gap, whether between the government, between the government agencies, between the independent marketers. There needs to be a sit down, like you rightly said. But I mean, what would be your suggestion moving forward as to how to tackle, because this is a very serious issue and has continued to affect the Nigerian citizens. There has to be a way around it. What can the government quickly begin to do in terms of negotiations, in terms of dialogue between IMAN, between NNPC and the marketers, Dangote, to tackle this situation and also be able to carry the Nigerian citizens along as to the long-term goals?
I think that's a fair question. So if we go back some months, initially, I think Nigerians, we need to also learn to manage our expectations. One of the things that I reiterated times without numbers in the last 2 years since the conversation of Dangote Refinery was that Dangote Refinery does not necessarily mean that price of petrol is going to crash by, for example, 50 or 60%. The expectation was, despite the fact that I was saying around 700, it's probably going to come back to around 1,165 or 180 or 200 naira. And I kept saying that is not the case, because at the end of the day, the price of petrol is a function of crude oil, the global market. And our exchange rate is a fundamental fact of that pricing. So exchange rate moving from 400 to right now around the region of 1,006 to 1,700, that significantly impacts the final price of petrol in Nigeria. Now, going back some of the things that the government has done, because let's start from what they have done towards what they can also do going forward. Remember that the CBN, the president came up with a policy of ensuring that the refineries we can buy petrol, and then the refinery can also buy crude naira. So you can exchange crude for naira, you can exchange petrol for naira. That more or less relieves the pressure on FX, trying to source for FX. But unfortunately, that does not solve the exchange rate problem. It only solves the issue of FX liquidity. But in a real sense, the price remains the same. Then again, the issue of NNPC buying from Dangote Refinery and then selling to other stakeholders in the market. The president also, as a means of fully deregulating the market, also eliminated that fact from the table, whereas oil marketers can now go straight to Dangote refineries and buy. But unfortunately, there seems to be some undertone that Dangote refinery is more or less selling a monopoly. And of course, in a market where there is just only one player, one producer of goods, the chances are that company or that entity is going to determine the price because there is no competition. So on that ground, I agree that the government also needs to do their bit in ensuring that the other refineries in the country also work. It is not I don't think it's a function of killing Dangote business. I think it's a function of creating some fair market where improved supply drives down the price to an extent, and then it also ensures that goods, the petrol price, petrol products easily gets to the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, since you have them scattered across some regions in the country. Now, coming again to what the government really needs to do, and I said it earlier that it needs to be a conversation, and the conversation does not have to be the trade blame that we've been hearing here and there, because to be honest, I sense that some of these stakeholders might not want to patronize Dangote refinery just because of the fact that it could be a monopoly. And it could also be fair on their part because we don't know other information underneath, whereby the company might also be dictating prices that they don't think to be fair in the market. Maybe everyone is in business to make profit, but we don't know, and that we cannot say from here. But the government really needs to be in the middle and be some form of a middleman that ensures that everyone treats the other party fairly. So Dangote refinery treats the marketers fairly. The marketers also treat Dangote fairly and also treat Nigerians fairly, because there is also the part whereby you can also buy at a low cost and then you put a premium of, let's say, 20 to 25% because you want to maximize your profit. That's also another conversation that you might probably want to bring in there. So the government really needs to be the guy with the check and balancing table here, trying to ensure that all parties play fairly and Nigerians don't suffer, because the truth is that Nigerians are suffering.
Okay, so let me come back to Chinedu, please. In response to the question, just stay on the way forward. What do you think can be a way forward for us to just move past this?
Well, the most important thing is that one, Dangote should, as quickly as possible, roll out plans to be able to start loading the independent marketers and clear out this issue of middlemen, and also open this thing to all of us to buy this product and sell, so that we won't have first tier, third tier, and fifth tier marketers, so that the competition will be healthy. That is my last word. Thank you.
Okay, no, before you land on the last word, I just want to ask, of what benefit is IMAN to Dangote? Because it seems like he is calling
distribution.
Yeah?
Distribution. Dangote does not have filling stations, so IMAN is very strategic.
Okay. And okay,
yes.
So if IMAN is strategic, is there any obligation that Dangote needs to meet to be able to then open this line of transaction with IMAN? Are there things, within maybe the laws that governs IMAN that Dangote probably needs to adhere to? Because I don't understand why this is a difficult situation.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's for him to just take us as most off-takers. Sell to us the way he sell to other marketers. That is all. That is the simple thing we need from him, doesn't it?
Because I'm wondering why he's refusing to adhere to the conversation. I mean, like to your invitations and all of that. Maybe there's something you people are demanding from him behind closed doors that we were not aware of.
Not at all.
Okay. All right. If you say so. Samuel, do you agree with Mr. Chinedu?
Well, based on what he has said, I agree that there needs to be some alignment. Dangote really needs to come to the table, IMAN and other stakeholders, and then they buy from each other. And I think it should be fair. I don't see reason why you should only sell to some, because I've also seen some news around the fact that only those who have license to import petrols are being sold to by Dangote refinery. I think there needs to be some fair equal playing ground for all the marketers, so that we don't have situations whereby prices are not, of course, you cannot have them equal across the country, but there still needs to be some level of equality or equity across the country in terms of pricing. So let's try to eliminate some of those middleman challenges. And I think that would probably do us some benefit. As to why Dangote is not reaching out to IMAN or why IMAN is not buying from them, I think that question is to them. I really would not know about that.
Oh, we're getting a feedback. I don't know where that is coming from. But it's interesting, because I was just going to say that at this rate, if you say that they have the distribution, they have everything, they have the filling station, is it not a sensible thing for him to just align with them because they have the numbers, right? So I'm just wondering, because, with this oil and gas sector, I just feel like there are just a lot of things that are shrouded that is just, everybody's trying to, because first of all, I've always asked this question. Nobody has been able to answer me. What is the landing cost if I want to go and import fuel? What exactly does it land? Nobody has answered. We've asked for the consumption. What is our quantity? What do we consume in a day? Like, can we get those numbers so that if Dangote says it has 500 million liters, we'll know, okay, whether we have excess or we have a shortfall All those questions are lost in transaction. Nobody's answering those questions. I'm just looking, okay? Let's be watching and be, you know. But Samuel, I don't know. Do you have any final words before we go? Who are you? Okay, Norma, you want to say something? Sorry.
Samuel, yes, I wanted to ask Samuel, whose responsibility? Because from what Chief Ukadike was saying, it's like, really, whose responsibility is it to determine whether Dangote is to, you know, work with independent marketers or IMAN? Is it Dangote's responsibility? Is it the government's responsibility? Who, you know, can you shed a little light on that?
So I think I want to look at it from a proper marketplace, right? So you have Dangote Refinery, for example, as a manufacturing company. You produce goods you definitely want to sell. You do not have, you are not a retailer. So of course you need to seek for retailers who would help you now sell to the final consumer. Now, also at the other end, you have retailers who wants to sell to the final consumers, but also need supply from a manufacturer or from a series of manufacturers. Now, in this case, we only have one locally. There are other options abroad. Now, for a retailer, you have to look at your options and then weigh in on which one of them is most beneficial to you in terms of maybe pricing, transportation, logistics, and all that. That helps you to make a decision on who you are going to buy from. Now, of course, in the process of a manufacturer and a retailer coming to an agreement, or a wholesaler, as the case may be, there are always some contractual agreements. And I think there is a fine line in between that conversation that is not too open to a lot of people, a lot of us here, that we don't understand. So there's something that is causing probably a disagreement between them that would make IMAN, for example, not to want to buy from Dangote, or that would make Dangote not want to sell to them. For whatever reason, there is something that they are both not agreeing with. We do not know what it is. And that is why they need a big brother to step in. A big brother could be NMDPRA, it could be the NNPCL, it could be the federal government, but there is someone who needs to act as an oversight between both parties, or irrespective of the number of parties that is involved in those transactions, to ensure that there is some form of synergy. Absolutely. They align and they do what is fair to us. Absolutely. We do not know it's our fault, and we really cannot even point the fingers because we are not in the room. Absolutely. On that note, I think this is the best. This is where we can leave the conversation. But thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you, Norma. And thank you to our guest, Chinedu, as well, for joining us this evening. All right, so remember, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are yet to subscribe, please go there now and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. If you missed our quote, here it is again. It says, the fuel price hike from 897 naira per liter to 1,030 naira per liter will push more Nigerians into poverty. And I think that is just the simple fact. We just need to find a way to bring down this cost of living. It's really, really terrible. All right, we'll see you guys on Monday as we bring another great conversation to your screen.